Happy 1st of June, everyone. Today's video, we're going to talk about everything I read in May. And May was a spectacular reading month in the sense that I enjoyed every single book that I read. So I'm going to talk to you about all the thoughts and feelings I had behind every book that I've read. It was a bit of a mishmash of books. I read some crime, some thrillers, fantasy, sci-fi, romance. I read everything. It was crazy. But it was genuinely just a spectacular month. And I want to talk to you about this one that I've got turned around and why I thought it were like a box or bag of Revels, you know, like the little chocolates. I'm going to dive straight into it because I don't want to bore you with this introduction kind of stuff. But if you've not already subscribed, please do. It truly helps out the channel. First book that I read in the month of May was this one here. I read it on Kindle and it's called Of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill. Now, I went into this not really having a clue what it was about. I knew it was fantasy. It had been recommended by a few people, but I don't know, I just went into it blind and it was fantastic. I highly recommend it. And if you're wanting to read a fantasy book that's kind of not all over BookTube and Instagram and all that sort of stuff, I think this is a good one because you can go into it without people kind of ramming their opinions down your throat. It is just a beautiful story. I mean, there's loss in it. It's not going to be all like sunshine and roses. You're going to get hurt. But it's beautiful in the sense that it's kind of like coming of age, chosen one, young boy, just kind of trying to find his place in the world. But it's got everything in it. And when I say everything, I mean there's like elves, there's dragons, there's trolls, there's like everything you'd ever want in a fantasy book chucked in. And when I first started reading it, I was kind of worried that it was just going to feel like, well, exactly that, like the author had just chucked every single character in it for the sake of it. But it didn't feel like that. It felt necessary. The story was brilliant. The pacing was fantastic. It's got great writing, brilliant dialogue. There's not really anything I can critique about this book. It's crazy accessible as well. I read it on Kindle because it's on Kindle Unlimited. And I think the paperback and the hardbacks are like 20 quid. And I'm not about spending £20 on a book that I might or might not enjoy. So yeah, all books are on Kindle Unlimited. I think the first book is actually on the author Ryan Cahill's website and you can listen to it on audio like for free. If you pay for Audible subscription, it's on there as well. I might be lying about the first book. It might be the first novella that's on Ryan's website for free. But on Audible, the first book is definitely there as part of the Audible Plus catalogue. Is that what it's called? When you pay for Audible, you get some books for free. And that's one of them. So I don't think the author could have made it any more accessible for you. It's definitely worth a try. I rated it 5-star. I thought it was spectacular. I can't wait to get further into the series. I know that there are like novellas that you can read between each book. I'm going to read the novella, I think, in June. And then we'll see where it goes. I have taken a little bit of a step back from fantasy at the minute because my mental health, as I've told you before, has just not been amazing. And I find that with fantasy books, I need to focus quite a lot. So we will get back to it. I'm going to dive back into that world and I'm buzzing for it. Just really, really good book. Next up, this month, I read Jade City as part of my book club read on Fable. I think I rated this 4.25 star. Again, really good, but also caught me by surprise. I went into this book expecting it to be like Rush Hour. You know the film with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker? I expected it to be like Rush Hour with magic. And it's really not. It's just so much political intrigue, and it's like politics about gangs and how gangs use politics to kind of run towns and cities and stuff. There's a lot of inner family drama. The dialogue and character work is spectacular. I don't know, I went into this expecting just action from start to finish and triad-esque magic wielding odd things just key-arring everyone all the time, and it truly isn't. So when you pick up the Greenbone Saga by Fonda, go into it expecting more like Robin Hobb-esque character work. It is faster pacing than Robin Hobb stuff. Obviously Robin Hobb is famously slow when it comes to pace, but she spends a lot of time building characters, and Fonda, I think, has done a brilliant job building the characters in this, upping the pace a little bit compared to someone like Robin Hobb. There is also a little bit of spice in this, and that caught me off guard. It just kind of came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, right you are, la-di-da. Quite naughty. And I'm excited to get into the next ones. But again, because my mental health's not been fantastic, I've just not gone into it yet, because I feel like if I try and read it now, I'm just not going to enjoy it as much as if I read it in maybe like a month or two. So another one that I highly recommend. I don't think that there's a book that I read in May that I wouldn't recommend to you. So just expect a lot of recommendations in this video. Next up, my absolute favourite crime writer, Chris Carter. He just never misses. I think I rated this 4 stars. It is book number 6 or 7 in his Robert Hunter series. I have read them all in order. You don't need to. They can all be read as standalones if you want to. Each story follows a completely separate investigation. But obviously, if you read them in order, there is a little bit of character development that you see between Robert Hunter, who is the main character, and Garcia, who is his partner in crime. So obviously you're going to miss out on maybe a little bit of character development if you read them out of order. But again, they are equally as spectacular if you just read them as standalones. This one just gave me everything that I expect from a Chris Carter book. It was gory, it was fast-paced. It's got a way of making you want to continue when you get to the end of the chapter. Every kind of end of chapter is a cliffhanger, and the chapters are crazy short. Some of these chapters are literally a page long. So you'll get to the end of a chapter, Chris Carter leaves you on a cliffhanger, and you're like, let me just see how long the next chapter is. Probably 2 pages. So you're like, oh, I'll read another one, and another one, and another one. You know them kind of books. He's just absolutely fantastic at it. They are heavy on the gore, I will say. I gave this series to my granddad because we pass books backwards and forwards because he loves crime books, and it was actually too gory for him. But if you can get past the fact that some of the scenes are like properly minging, then I think you'll genuinely love him. I gagged for him. I think he's spectacular, and I cannot recommend him enough. Him and M.W. Craven, but he just pips it because, again, I'm a bit of a psycho and I like a bit of gore in my crime, kind of serial killer, police procedural things. Next up, we read my first ever book by Claire Douglas, and it was called The Girls Who Disappeared. I believe I rated this 3.5 stars. Really enjoyed it. The only reason I rated this down was because there was nothing about the book that kind of was spectacular. It was just good. When you pick up a psychological thriller, there's certain things, for me at least, I expect. I want it to kind of just be a page turner. I want to enjoy it, and I did, but it just didn't blow me away. So I don't tend to go too much into plot on my videos because you can go on Google and type in the plot and you'll know whether you like it or not. But this starts pretty much straight away with a car accident, and there's 4 girls in a car. The car accident happens, and when one of the surviving girls wakes up, the other 3 girls are missing. And it's a story about what happened to the girls who disappeared. It was genuinely good. Like, the twist got me, and I'm a bit of a detective when it comes to thrillers and crime books. I usually get the twists as long as there's a good amount of foreshadowing, and I didn't get the twist. I went back in this book and kind of skim read it and stuff like that just to see if there was any foreshadowing, and there was, and I missed it all. So maybe I was just on an off day. The only thing I will say about this book is that I had to look at my review after finishing this book to be able to do this video. And I think that is a sign that it probably did deserve a 3.5. There weren't any really standout moments in the book where I go, I remember that. And that's not necessarily just criticising the book, because that is me. Usually I'll finish a book, and if it was just okay, if you ask me in a week's time what the plot were in that book, I'll be like, yeah. They'll be like, no, what were the plot? And I'll be like, yeah. I'm just here for the vibes. And it's just one of them books where I know that I enjoyed it because I rated it 3.5 star, and for me that's a good review, but I couldn't for life here tell me exactly what happened in it from start to finish. So read it, honestly. Don't let me put you off reading this book, because 3.5 I think is a strong review score. But I think because I had such a good reading month where I had a lot of 4s, 4.25s and 5 stars, that was just the one that was like the worst out of a good bunch. So yeah, do with that what you will. Oh, you can see that book. I'm going to hide it because this book was spectacular. You know the Bag of Revels book? I don't want you to see that yet because it was just so good. Next up, I read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Bloody hell, this book is fantastic. I had been recommended this book many a times. Loads of people have said, Tyrone, just read Ready Player One. And I was like, yeah, will do. Never did, but I read it in May, and it was bloody brilliant. Like, it follows a young lad who's set in a world in the future where, like, everyone other than the really, really wealthy, are kind of in like abstract poverty. And there is this game that's been designed called the Oasis by this uber billionaire. And because people don't really have much money, they kind of live fake lives through this video game. So everyone's involved in this Oasis where it's like an online mass multiplayer RPG game. And everyone just gags for it. But this billionaire who created this world, he gets sent to Jesus. And as part of his unaliving process, he sets a challenge and he's like, right, I've hid some Easter eggs in this Oasis. If you find them, you can have my fortune. And everyone obviously goes mad on it. So this dude is just trying to find this Easter egg so he can have a better life. But it's just way more than that. Like, the game itself is so much fun. But it is, like, I think it's a bit of a character study on how we as humans can live completely different lives online to reality, and how we maybe build personas online that make us feel more confident, maybe a confidence that we don't portray in reality. And this character in this book is just a specimen of that kind of person. You know, online, he makes friends really well. He's confident in himself because he can build this character and portray himself as different to how he feels within his real self. It's a beautiful story about friendship. It is a story about maybe where we are going in future. And this might sound crazy, but with Elon Musk being the human being that he is, all the way through, and I was reading about this dude that had set up this Oasis, I was like, shit, this is Elon Musk. Like, he's going to do something crazy like this. And if he does, I'm all for it. It's a fun game. But it's also a story about corporations and greed. You know, you've obviously got corporations who want this money and want this control over this world, and they're trying to battle against just your average Joe who is just trying to get a better life for himself. It's a story about good versus evil, what you would do with power maybe that you've never once had if you were given it, and it was bloody brilliant, honestly. Again, it was one of them books where I went into it just expecting to have a good time, but this month, because I have slowed my reading down, I've really kind of started thinking about the meaning of books rather than just trying to get through it for the plot. I've just been enjoying books a lot more because of the fact that I've been reading much slower. And again, another recommendation. I know that sometimes videos where people are just going, this book's really good, this book's really good, can feel a bit fake. But hopefully you've watched my videos for long enough to know that if I didn't enjoy a book, I'm going to tell you. But I am also very particular about books that I read. I do a lot of research online. I go onto Google, I read synopsis. I'm not going to waste money on books. So if I've got a book on my shelf, it's because I've done a fair amount of research and I know that based on the plot and things like that, I'm probably going to enjoy it. Now, coming to my standout book this month, and this is The Revel. So, I want you to imagine you just bought a bag of Revels from a shop, and you open your bag of Revels, and you kind of know what you're going to get with a bag of Revels. You're either going to get a bit of a good time. You're going to pick out like the good time Revels. You might, unfortunately, it might fall flat and you might pick out a chocolate raisin, or on the very rare occasion, you might dip your hand in that bag of Revels and pick out a sensation that is the chocolate coffee. And this book was that chocolate coffee. It was just absolutely phenomenal. And I mean phenomenal. It is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. And this was my surprise of the year. I think I'd probably say it's in my top 5 books that I've ever read. Now, coming from somebody that hasn't read many romance books in his life, I think I've probably read maybe 5 or 6 romance books. I never expect to go into a romance book expecting it to be one of my favourite books ever. But this book just resonated with me so much. So this follows a couple. If you've never read Abby Jimenez books before, she usually does first-person POV, which I know, just hang fire. I know first-person POV is not always for everyone. And I'm one of them people. I usually prefer third-person POV. But she does it in first-person POV, and she skips between the 2 love interests. So you go from like one character to the other, back to the other, vice versa. You got 2 characters who basically have had no luck in love. It starts off with the main character, Justin, and he is on a Reddit forum, and he's basically saying to people, look, I am cursed. I never find love, and whenever I do date people, it always fails, but the people that I date always end up finding their true love next. So I truly believe that I'm cursed. Then you've got the other character, Emma, who's sat chilling with her mate, and her mate's like, Em, this dude, he's messed up like you. Because everyone that you date goes on to find love of their life, and you're not it. Maybe you should speak to him. So obviously they have a chat on Reddit, and she's like, oh my God, this happens to me as well. Maybe we should date and see if we can break this curse. Now, obviously they don't believe that it's a curse, but they're just kind of having a laugh with it. And their story kind of progresses. They agree to start going on some dates, but then it gets a lot darker and deeper. Now, I will say Abby Jimenez is famous for dealing with trauma and things like that. So don't expect to go into these books and just find fluffy romance. You will find that there are genuinely bits in this book where I belly chuckled. There's some proper hilarious lines. The dialogue's fantastic, but there are also going to be themes in it that I personally think will help a lot of people through like trauma that they've maybe not dealt with. And that's exactly what this book did for me. So when you look at the main female character, Emma, she has a lot of issues when it comes to parental neglect from childhood. Her mum kind of just maybe shouldn't have been a parent, but she was, and she just wasn't the best parent. She was very absent. She used to leave Emma in the house on her own, and because of that, Emma's built up defences within herself where she won't let people close to her, because if she lets people close, there's a chance she'll get hurt. So Justin is obviously through the book trying to break down these barriers, but for me, it was just one of them books where it made me realise why I am the way I am. So I didn't have the best upbringing. There was abuse, not within the household, but it happened. And I didn't have a dad. My dad left when I was a baby. I always had issues with that, and I always wished as a young man that I had a man in my life. Unfortunately, that never happened, but it's something that I have learned from, and I'm a present father. But my mum also moved away when I was quite young, and I had to move in with a friend and his mum. I lost her, Kath, who was like a mum to me, about 6 or 7 years ago, and that hit me real hard. But because my mum moved away, I feel like inside I built up a lot of defences myself, and it's now led me to not miss people. And that's something that's always bothered me. I've had conversations with my wife, and I've always said to her, I don't understand why I don't miss people. Like, I used to work away 3 days a week, and I'd come back for 3 days a week, and I used to message my wife, and I'd be like, I don't understand why I don't miss the kids. I don't understand anything. And since then, obviously I've had a diagnosis of autism and ADHD, which will play a part into that. But looking back now, I think that's just a defense mechanism, because a lot of people who I needed or wanted in my life left me, and I have built up some sort of defense mechanism where I just won't allow myself to miss people. Now, I love my kids obviously more than anything. I love my wife more than anything, but that's just something that's obviously never going to change. And I just resonated so much with that part of the character. It was just one of them books that I think everyone could read and find something within it, because you've also got Justin, who's the main male character, who's working through his own things. His mum is basically going to be sent to prison for embezzlement or something like that. I can't remember what she did. I think she stole some money from a charity shop that she worked from, and she's headed to prison, and he's got siblings, so he's basically having to just give up his entire life to move into his family home and look after the siblings while mum's in prison. And that's obviously going to have some sort of detrimental effect, potentially, on any looming romance with Emma. It was just one of them books that every single word meant something. I can't remember. I think the last book I cried at was 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. There's a scene right at the start of that book that made me cry. I think it was page 7, where the main character's nan has got dementia, and they're having a conversation, and she's losing her nan, and Ellie's nan at the minute is in a care home with dementia. So I just bawled at that bit. There's another bit later on in that book that I bawled at, but there's a bit in this book as well that just really made me cry. And it was just about like character growth, and when characters can feel like they're changing, but they're making changes, and these changes could potentially let them get hurt. And it just made me cry. I laid in bed at night time, I cried. I didn't get to sleep until 4:30 in the morning. Now, I'm not going to say it's just because of this book. It's also because I live in a council estate, and I had some feral neighbours across the road that were screaming and shouting that woke me up at 12:30. And then I woke up and I couldn't stop thinking about Emma and Justin. So I was like, I might as well read about it. And one chapter turned into the rest of the book. It's just truly a fantastic, beautiful, just like thought-provoking book. If you want to read more of Abby Jimenez, this book is set in part of a world. So the worlds are, like, the world is one world and there's different characters that are interlinked. So you've got part of your world, which is book one, which follows two characters that I mentioned in this book. Then you've got book two, which is yours truly, which follows Jacob and I can't remember the name of the other one. I think it might have been Brianna. Follows them two. I've read them two as well. They are still 5-star reads. This one was just my favourite, and I think it's because of how much I related to the book. So read any of them in any order. It doesn't really matter, but if you do enjoy one of them, I guarantee you will love the other two as well. I think she bought another book out as well recently called Say You'll Remember. I think that might be a separate world, but I'm absolutely, again, going to read that just because of how spectacular the first 3 books of hers that I have read are. I'm sorry. Look, I know that I started piping off that book a little bit, but it was just genuinely, I enjoyed it that much. I wanted to spend a good amount of time on that book and tell you how fantastic it was. Just read it. Even if you don't enjoy romance books, if you don't hate them, I guarantee you'll enjoy that book. It was just brilliant. Now, that's pretty much everything I've read this month. I want to talk to you briefly about why I've not read as much. 2 reasons. One, the kids are off school, it's half term, and they don't really allow me to sit down and read as much. But 2, for the reason I mentioned earlier, because I wanted to start enjoying the books that I'm reading a bit more and worry less about the amount of books that I'm reading. I don't really care about numbers. I don't have any goals. I don't set myself a goal of like 100 books a year. I understand that some content creators out there will read 15 books a month. I truly don't believe that you can enjoy a book in its entirety if you are speed reading through 15 to 20 books a month. Unless, of course, you have like crazy, insane, fast reading abilities, but you can still consume it. Completely get that. What I don't think is enjoyable, at least for me, is putting an audiobook on 2 times speed and blasting through it just to say I've read another book. So that's not any hate to people that do that, because if they get enjoyment from that, cool, fine. I just personally, one, struggle with audiobooks anyway, because my brain gets distracted by fluffy cats and dogs and stuff, and I forget to listen. But 2, I like written word. You know, that's why I started reading, because I like words on paper. I like the feel of a book in my hand. And yeah, for me, an audiobook, the production needs to be spectacular, like a movie. Dungeon Crawler Call, things like that. I don't mind audiobooking, but I do prefer reading the physical book. So that's why I maybe haven't read as many books this month as I usually read. I don't really have any other hobbies other than my Nintendo Switch, so I do have a lot of time to read, hence me reading more books than maybe your average person. Now, I want to give a big thank you to one of you, because you recommended a book to me. Belle, I believe your name's Belle anyway, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. But Belle recommended that I read When I Can Find My Kindle. Where the bloody hell's my Kindle? I've just had it. Oh, it's at the bottom of my pile. Give us a sec. So Belle messaged me and said, I'll put the message up here. Please, 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 will you read is it Rizzoli Summit or other series? Tess Gerritsen books anyway. She's obviously watched my videos and seen that I like police procedurals and said, will you read book 1 in the Tess Gerritsen series? So I said, I promise you I'll read it in June. It's there, look, on my Kindle. The Surgeon. I didn't really know anything about it, but she had said that it's about police procedural kind of stuff like Chris Carter, M.W. Craven, Kathy Reichs, all that kind of jazz. But it covers what it's like to be a woman working in the police force in an industry largely dominated by men at the time. So I put it out on Fable. It won, and that will be the book club read for June. If you want to join along on Fable, it's completely free of charge of the app. There's different chapter breakdowns, so you can leave comments on what you thought of different chapters to avoid spoilers. And so far, I'm enjoying it. I'm only like 4 or 5 chapters in. I'm like 10% through it. It's quite gruesome, like you'd expect from most kind of crime police procedurals. We're not on Chris Carter level yet, but people have been sent to Jesus, and, it wasn't by suffocation. The writing's good. It's probably more advanced writing, I'd say, than Chris Carter. Chris Carter's writing style is very simple. This is a little bit more descriptive, but I'm all for that. I'm not going to tell you, obviously, what I think about the overall book because I've not finished it yet. But yeah, give that a go if you want this month. Lastly, I've got a Nintendo Switch recommendation for you. So I put out a poll on my story recently and said, give some recommendations, everyone. I want to play a fantasy game. And loads of people told me to get Witcher 3 and also Baldur's Gate. And only a couple of people told me to get this game here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's called Fantasy Life. Apparently a game out that's on 3DS, and people put hundreds of hours into it. It is just absolutely spectacular. If you have got a Switch and you enjoy Animal Crossing, which I've never played, looking at videos on YouTube, it's very similar. So you start off with this character, there's all sorts involved in it. You can level up characters through combat, you can do farming, you can do blacksmithing, you can do, what's it called, tailoring. There's just so much. You can mine for stuff to convert into metal, to then use your blacksmith to build armor for your characters. You can pick tomatoes, you can get apples and eggs and use it for cooking different recipes, to use in potions. It's just so much fun. The storyline is great, but you can also just spend loads of time just going around just doing random shit, and it kills time. It's fantastic. And me and Ellie at the minute are watching Walking Dead at night time, so I kind of watch Walking Dead in background while I'm playing on my Switch, and it is just unbelievable. 10 out of 10 game. Highly recommend it. Not only that, if you do get it, there's online features where you can join each other's worlds and you can run around together. You can do like dungeon kind of things. You can hack trees down together. I've not done it with anyone yet. Like, I don't know anyone that plays it yet, but if you do play it, or if you're gonna get it and you do, I'd be more than happy to just like run around like Maddens with you on mounts, because you get mounts and stuff and you can run around and just, it's sick. It is just like one of the sickest games ever. I think I'm done. Are you done? I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I am going to finish off with a joke for you. What do you call a fish with no eyes? Psh. Hello, I'm a dad. I've got 3 kids. My jokes are shit, but I think it was delivered well. Please subscribe. If you've watched to this point, I love you the most. The next video I do will probably be within the next week, talking to you about books that I plan on reading in June. I'll see you in a bit.